In this lesson, I'm going to give you a closer look at all the areas within Excel so that you can recognize them. First, as with all Windows applications, at the top you see what is called the title bar. In the center of it, the name of the workbook I'm working on is displayed, and on the far right there are the buttons for minimizing, maximizing, or restoring and closing the application. I can move the window from the title bar as I can do with all Windows applications. The largest part of the application, as expected, is occupied by the worksheet. The worksheet is essentially a huge table made up of columns and rows. The columns are named using the letters A, B, C, D, etc., which you see as headers just above each column. You can have more than 16,000 columns in a worksheet. I will continuously click on the right arrow next to the horizontal scroll bar, and you see that new columns keep appearing. To display the first columns on the left of the worksheet again, I will click on the left arrow of the horizontal scroll bar to go back. Rows are named by the numbers, by the number you see next to them on the left. You can have a little over 1 million rows in a worksheet. I will continuously click on the down arrow below the vertical scroll bar and see that the new rows keep appearing. To display the rows at the beginning of the worksheet again, I will click on the up arrow above the vertical scroll bar to go back. Another way to move through the columns or rows in my worksheet is to directly use the scroll bars instead of the arrows. I will left click and hold on the horizontal scroll bar, and by moving it to the right, I display columns on the right, or by moving it to the left, I display columns on the left. Similarly with the rows, I will left click and hold on the vertical scroll bar, and by moving it down, I display the lower rows, or by moving it up, I return to the upper rows. The difference between these two methods is that by using the scroll bars, I can only move to the part of my worksheet that contains data and no further. On the other hand, using the arrows, I can freely move around and display even further down or right. Now let's take a brief look at cell names. As I mentioned in the previous lesson, each cell has its unique name, which is derived from its column and row. For the selected cell, the name appears in the name box, which is the box here at the top left. So I will click on cell B2 and see that the name B2 appeared because this cell is in column B and row 2. I will click on cell C11 and see that the name C11 appeared because this cell is in column C and row 11. The name box not only shows me the name of the cell I'm in, but can also work the other way around. I can write the name of a cell in it, and it takes me directly there. So I will click on the names box, write X500, and press Enter. What happened is that it moved me to the cell belonging to column X and row 500. I will click on the name box again, write A1, and press Enter, so I moved to cell A1, which is at the beginning of the worksheet. So to sum up, in the name box, I either see the name of the cell I have selected or type a cell name, and it takes me directly there, selecting the cell I wrote. Now at the beginning at the bottom of the application, there are the worksheets or tabs, as they are otherwise called. The worksheets are independent tables, each of which can have more than 16,000 columns and 1 million rows. All the worksheets together make up the workbook. Its workbook can contain as many worksheets as our computer's memory allows. So the space we have here is for our data is very, very big. Moving from one worksheet to another is relatively easy. I will click on the word proportions, which is the name given to this specific worksheet, and it becomes active. I click on the word common expenses, and now this worksheet is active. From the appearance of the worksheet names, I can understand which is the active worksheet, which means the worksheet that appears in the main work area of Excel. Now I'm on the common expenses worksheet, and that's why the name of the worksheet appears like this here below. The area I want you to look at now is the status bar, which is located down here. Like in most Windows programs, the status bar is at the bottom of the application. It is currently empty without information, but from the status bar you can see things related to the way the worksheet is displayed. On the left you see the icon related to macros. On the right, you see the control for zooming in or out and changing the layout of the display. I will explain all this in detail in future lessons. I just want to show you their positions now, so don't worry about what exactly they all do. We will see all this in future lessons. I will now select cells E5 to G8. And notice that automatically on the status bar I can see the average, count, and sum of the cells I selected. I can add information to the status bar that I want to see or remove information I don't want to see. I will right click on it and choose minimum to add the minimum value of the selected cells to the information displayed, and I will click on the status bar to close this box. Now see that among the information there is also the information about the minimum value. I will right click on the status bar again and unselect minimum so it doesn't appear, and I will press escape on the keyboard to close the box. So now I don't see the information about the minimum. Most of the settings and capabilities of the status bar are not part of the basic level syllabus. I present this here very briefly to give you an idea about this area of the application that appears at the bottom. Those of you who decide to continue with the advanced level of Excel after this series of lessons will see much more about this. The next area of the application that is of interest is the Quick Access toolbar, which you see at the top left. Through this you have immediate access to tools you use very often so that you save time and make your work easier and faster. Right below the Quick Access toolbar you have the File tab. I will click on the File tab, and as you can see it has a different logic from the other tabs. The application no longer displays my worksheet but various special features which I will talk about more in detail in future lessons. This view of the application is also called the Backstage view. For now, I will only say that by clicking on the Close option, I can close only the workbook without closing Excel itself. If I want to close the entire Excel application, I will have to click on this X on the top right corner, which is the closing button. I will now press the left arrow to close the File tab and return to the view of the Excel data worksheet. It's understandable that all this is a lot of information and you may not remember everything right away. There is no problem with that, nor is the logic of this lesson to learn it all at once. We will work with all this during the lessons, and the more you practice, the easier it will be for you to distinguish each area. What I wanted in this lesson was for you to have a first contact with all these areas and hear their various names. In the next lessons, I will start working with them one by one in greater detail. That's all for this lesson. Thank you for watching.